Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to Major League Hockey and Heated Rivalry. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that there are big butts and small butts and butts that play hockey. But the best butts are boys' butts, so here's to you and me.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Rich Inman and Max Singer. How you boys doing today?
I've got my New York Admirals jersey on today, boys. I'm ready to go.
The listeners at home have dared me to do an entire episode like this, so I will do an entire episode like Rozanov.
And I am begging you to stop. Well, gentlemen, this week we are talking about Heated Rivalry in an ode to our future Olympic torchbearers and the Winter Olympics coming up this week. But before we dive too deep into this hit series, Max, do you mind telling folks what this podcast is all about?
Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilots in making us want to watch more, and if they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And Rich, what is your question of the week?
Well, obviously, this is the culmination of a very long and celebrated romance series by Rachel Reed. I want to know, what would be the worst sport to have a gay romance written about it, and what would you name that series?
Well, Rich, I'm really glad you asked this question because I think that one of the things that has made this show such a phenomenon is the idea that it's not in your face, if that makes sense. It is not, when we're talking about hockey, no one looks at the sport and is like, oh, what a homoerotic sport that we're talking about, right? And I was like, what is a sport that lacks innuendo and is just straight in your face? And coming to the Lifetime Network this fall, from the guys who wrote that one thing that you sort of watched but got a little bit tired of, comes Daggering. What happens when two international short foil fencers find out that it's not just a foil in their pants? Daggering on Lifetime. So yes, I would like to propose that we do the worst version of the show with something that truly is just in your face, lacks the, any of the emotion, and is just about boys playing with swords.
I love that. Yeah. No innuendo there. It's real sword fighting.
Exactly.
How about you,
Max? I'm curious.
I am going with the annual and infamous Cooper's Hill cheese rolling competition, where people from all over go to Gloucester, England to throw themselves down a very steep hill chasing a wheel of cheese. So coming soon to HBO Max, we've got Double Gloucester.
I like the way you roll downhill.
Rich, what about you?
So if there was an American sport, and I kept it in the U.S. for this, I don't think there's one that would be less accepting of gay people than NASCAR. So obviously if hockey has the most conservative minded athletes of any sport, and they're pretty damn close. It's pretty neck and neck with baseball. I think NASCAR really takes the cake on that. So welcome to Crave TV next year when I present Rubbin' is Racing.
Jesus Christ!
Hey! At least I didn't call it pole position.
Oh yeah,
that was the first draft.
Watch that. I'm not even joking. We're gonna do pole position in prep for F1 this year.
I think we got a lot of representation in NASCAR through Talladega Nights already.
That's true. That's true. That one kiss. That true. One Sacha Baron Cohen kiss.
That one Sacha Baron Cohen kiss.
Well, gentlemen, thank you both for your answers, and Rich, thank you for your question of the week. Before we talk about Heated Rivalry, a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey there, frequent flyers. This week's episode is brought to you by Riverside. Riverside has been the go-to platform for TV Pilot's License when it comes to recording this podcast. You can record crystal clear audio and video all in one place, and when you're done, Riverside makes it super easy to edit your show and put together pre-formatted clips for social media promotion. Not a podcaster? Not a problem. Riverside is fantastic for hosting live streams, creating educational content, putting together marketing materials, interviews, and so much more. So whether you're looking to finally get that podcast idea off the ground or take your show to the next level, Riverside is the platform for you. Get started by clicking the Riverside link in the description of today's episode.
Thanks to our sponsors, and let's dive a little bit deeper into Heated Rivalry. But first, a quick synopsis. Two hockey stars fall into a secret romance that spans years as they chase glory and wrestle with love. Which, yes, that is what we watch, and boy, are we going to talk about time jumps. But Max, before we do so, can you jump us into the past and tell us how this show got made?
Today, we're talking about the pilot episode of Heated Rivalry titled Rookies, which originally aired on November 28th, 2025 on Crave TV and HBO Max, and the show's creator, Jacob Tierney. Tierney has come up on this podcast once before, so go back and stream our Letterkenny episode for more. His father, the screenwriter Kevin Tierney, penned the highest-grossing Canadian film domestically in Canada.
The Red
with
Green
2006's Bald Cop, Bad Cop. It only made like $1 million outside of Quebec.
Oh, okay.
But
That's
it's like a Quebecois action comedy smash.
I love this.
For his work in Canadian film and with Letterkenny, the younger Tierney is a winner of Genie Awards, Canadian Comedy, and Canadian Screen Awards. In 2023, Tierney reached out to author Rachel Reed about the possibility of adapting her book series Game Changers into a limited series after the Washington Post wrote an article on the rise of hockey romance novels. Reed's series released its first installment in 2018, Game Changer, and the sixth book, Unrivaled, is set to be released this September. Despite its success on Canadian TV, Tierney said early studio meetings about the project were met with studio notes wanting to fundamentally change the project or change its tone. In January 2025, Tierney's spec script was picked up by Crave, a Canadian subscription service, with Tierney signed on to create, write, and direct the series. Originally scheduled to be released in February 2026 to coincide with the Winter Olympics, the show pivoted to November 2025 to take advantage of audience viewing during the holiday season. 9 days before the show was set to premiere, the US and Australian streaming rights were acquired by HBO. The decision by HBO, according to CEO Casey Bloys and programming SVP Jacob Butler, was directly tied to building social media buzz by fans of the Game Changers book series. Today's pilot, along with its full series, is directed by Jacob Tierney, who also makes a cameo today as the commercial director.
Oh,
Shut the fuck up.
That's
I was
amazing.
wondering where he was going to be in this entire show.
also really quick to double back on the his dad's cop series, but if we're talking action series that take place in Quebec, I think my top has got to be the French Canadian Connection. I think that's fantastic Zamboni chase in that movie.
Well, I figured, Rich, this show takes place in 2008, so at some point we'd be talking of Montreal.
God damn it.
Holy shit.
That's my first indie rock joke of the day.
Oh, Jeff didn't have one. He got bagel right there.
Yep. Well, gentlemen, let's start off by taking it back to the year 2008, where our show kicks off outside of a hockey rink, where we meet our two stars of this show, Ilya and Shane, two hockey prospects that at first we don't know too much about, but soon get the largest amount of exposition within 30 seconds I've ever imagined in my life.
Well, you have to, because we forgot to mention there are even hockey prospects in this first scene. There is no context other than smoking is cool.
Well, Rich, I'm curious about you. For a scene that doesn't have much dialogue between its two cast members, its two actors, right? Do you already start to sense that there is something different about these two guys talking, even though we haven't seen anyone else talk yet on this show?
Yeah, I mean, you get an instant sense of both of their personalities. Ilya is going to be the one who's like kind of smooth and charming. Shane is going to be the one that is reserved, but also like respects hockey above everything else. But yeah, they really just drop you in on this show. There is no like, okay, this is the world of MHL, right? Or MHL hockey. You know, this is obviously supposed to be at the World Juniors tournament, which is, if I had to nitpick about this one, you can be drafted and play in the tournament. Most people are. But this was, I think it was a fun setup just to show how long this tension had been building.
So we do get the World Junior. For folks who are fans of hockey, Rich, do you mind explaining what the World Juniors tournament is, just for people who maybe don't know?
Yeah, World Juniors, I believe, is for players 17 to 20, if I'm not mistaken. It's mostly guys who play in like the OHL and stuff like that. It's before they get really into their NHL and AHL contracts. That's when they get to play, but it is a worldwide tournament that happens around Christmas and New Year's. And in Canada, it is like one of the biggest events of the year. It is it's the World Cup out there.
But after this defeat for the Canadian team at the hands of Ilya and the Russians, we go and feature the first of many time jumps. Now, this one isn't too ridiculous, but I think we need to address this from the top.
Right.
What do we think of a show deciding, not only am I going to cut 1 week or maybe 1 month, but what about 2 years? Or like, fuck you, how about like 3 years sometimes?
I mean, just to get yourself prepared, if you have not seen this show yet, after every scene, there's about a 6-month time jump, except for the one scene where there's a 1 week time jump. Yeah. but between every scene, we skip ahead large periods of time. And I understand that you have to... This show is about Shane and Ilya. This show is about their encounters, their relationship, their personal lives, and how they interact and coexist and intersect. So you don't want to not have them together, so you need to keep finding ways to get them together. I'm with you, though. The first time after Juniors, when we see Shane skate across our frame defeated, I was like, okay, a time jump makes sense. It's the next time they meet. And then it kept happening, and every single time the screen would flash, like 6 months later, 4 months later, I was laughing giddily more and more every single time. I was keeping track. It's like, we cover almost like 2 full years in this episode.
Yeah, and then if you go, like, as the episodes go on, too, there's, like, time jumps backwards and then forwards again. It is an interesting choice. I wish that that Jacob Tierney would have chosen just to do one World Juniors, really, because people don't normally play in multiple.
That drove me insane. The second time they go back to Juniors after I've already been drafted, I'm like, hold on. Like, do you play in prospects tournaments again? Like, am I nitpicking the hockey continuity of heated rivalry too much?
You do. Almost everyone in the World Juniors is drafted. Which is like, so you had to have, so if they had to have the draft, if anything, I think the time jumps and the fact that we're just moving along to every piece of Shane and Ilya being together, it has like, I know why it's done. I feel like it could have been done like a little bit more subtly, of just like, or even with less exposition. Just say like, here's why they're together really quickly. Just do it like, show don't tell. Just like, here it is. All right, now it's the draft. Now it's another World Juniors. Now they're shooting a commercial, etc. But like, I do think what it did make me sad about is how much like professional athletes can't be at home.
Well, I let me propose something,
please,
right? Because I think that one of the things that people are like, oh, wow, what a time jump, is we're not quite used to just seeing on a screen 2 months later, 4 months later, 4 years later,
right,
all those sort of things. We tend to get these little like montages or animations that are like a calendar.
I put it on the calendar.
Dates being crossed off, or like we see the schedule and we can see like WWWLLLWW, like that sort of thing. Instead, it's just like, nope, no budget. This is on Crave. This is what we're doing next. And let's speak of what next is, because next is we get, after this prospect tournament, you get the draft, and Shane Hollander's dream of being the number 1 pick is taken from him.
That's right.
It's not something you can ever do again. You can't be redrafted in this instance. But based off of this disappointment, we get what I can only describe is one of the most sexually charged Peloton rides I've ever seen in my life. And
you haven't watched me cycle, baby.
Just a little bit less sweat than Rich cycling.
I can't go back to the Y.
First off, just justice to the actor, the essentially glorified extra who plays the third pick in the draft, and they kind of push out of frame really
That
quickly.
was so funny.
Like, we got to frame the three of you together, but now get out of the shot, buddy. No one cares. This first gym shot, the gym sequence of Shane needing to pedal it out and Ilya joining him, and the two silently riding bikes and competing with each other on the bikes as they try to get their heart rates up, is actually maybe my favorite directed sequence in this entire first episode. And the reasons for that is because there's so many things that happen in it that feel like the first stages of a crush, and I think are filmed and framed in a very interesting way by Tierney. From the way that we put in the center of a frame the passing of a water bottle and two hands grazing against each other, that very, very gentle skin-on-skin contact, to the way we frame a camera on Ilya's moles on his neck from Shane's POV, and just seeing these little things that they're noticing about each other in real time. It's a scene that is sexual and like passionate without having sex.
Yeah.
And I think it's used to really strong effect. And I think that Jacob Tierney chooses to frame and focus on just like very, very interesting little details here.
Definitely.
I liked it.
Rich, I'm curious from your perspective, because one of the things I took from it, right, and the aftermath, I think, Max, you absolutely nailed it, but I think this does such a good job of capturing the competitiveness that we will see bloom between these two, right? Like, I looked back at my own time as an athlete, right, and was just like, oh yeah, there were workouts like this where it's literally you next to the person you're competing with,
right,
or who is possibly going to take your spot on the field, or in my case, on the boat, right? And it's just well done by Jacob Tierney for capturing that sense. But I'm curious, how did you feel about this scene?
Well, I think what Jacob Tierney is trying to say with this scene in particular is that bodies are used as commodities for these guys, for these players, like almost their entire adolescence and adulthood. What we're seeing is how they know to use their body, which is competing against each other, working out as hard as they possibly can. But then they're starting to say, oh, what else could these bodies be used for? Is there something that's softer? Is there a new realization that I'm having that, like, I am not just someone who can skate impeccably well. I'm not someone who just has like the best shot in the league. I am also someone who can be appreciated for something more than that. And that's where I start to see that transition. And also, you know, the fact that they are kind of, well, Shane specifically is reconciling with the fact that he is now finding attraction to his supposed arch rival. And that is something that he knows cannot happen. And that's where the taboo starts building for him too. But it's also like, why am I feeling like this? Do I know who I am? Do I know who this person is? Can they be trusted, etc.? Does this person also like me in that way?
Well, gentlemen, we have another time jump. And boy, is it a few months later. And we
How many?
6 to be exact. And we get another world championship, but this time the Canadians win. And then you're like, oh, cool. A little bit of hockey. No. Fuck you. You don't get any hockey. To this
We don't
point.
have the budget for hockey.
We don't have that budget for hockey. But we do get to do another time jump where we get the closest thing to hockey yet, which is seeing these two guys build even more chemistry together by shooting this advertisement, right? This promo shoot in an empty hockey arena, and just seeing them continue to try to go and do this face-off only for them to be laughing. And I love the workout scene, right? But this was a scene that, to me, built the believability of
Yes.
like, oh, I get it. This was the moment where I was like, cool, they're both like cute, and like their chemistry is really cute, and I'm into this right now.
Definitely.
Yeah, they're going to be tied together forever throughout their entire careers. Like, these two we're setting up are going to be linked throughout every stage of their careers. It's always going to be the two of them. And so by putting them in this situation where they are allowed to let their guard down, let their hair down a little bit, and enjoy the absurdity of the newness of it too, is nice to see. It's just a fun break. It's a fun breather. It's nice to see this other side of the two of them. And yes, a commercial shoot is that antagonizing.
Yeah.
It is that annoying. It is that absurd.
Yeah. And also, I just like that you get to see kind of the softness of them publicly. It is very much like, okay, everyone else has built up this rivalry so much more than we have against each other. And that's really how sports is anyways. It's like, you see, if you go to a Yankees and Red Sox game, like they're still hugging each other pregame and stuff like that. They're all in like this large athlete fraternity, and that's really the case of it. Like the only people who are really building up this constant rivalry are the franchises themselves and the fans.
And I think that's so interesting because I think that there's a mindset shift between generations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there was something that happened in the 90s where basketball was just so much more violent, right? That people were like, there's no way anyone were friends. But then you see like Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, right, in The Last Dance talking to each other and like making fun of each other. And you're like, oh yeah, they're best friends. Like they're low key, they absolutely adore each other.
In their own way that only two true athletic psychopaths could be.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing that I think this show also unintentionally does, is it shows the humanity of someone who is at the peak, the echelon of their sport. We just add a little bit of a twist, and while we get this softness in this advertising shoot, we change tone very, very quickly when it's time to shower off and go to the locker room. And I want to open the floor up to the two of you of our first innuendo-less scene and a little bit more of a sexually charged scene.
Yeah, it was like you saw it coming. Like that was not like a
we didn't see much actually, but
sure.
I get your point.
Yeah. And if Crave TV is going to do one thing, it's going to show us almost everything that people want. And
that's their motto.
So you get to finally get like a essentially wordless sexual interaction between the two of them. They're finally naked in front of each other. They're sharing the same shower. They put this scene around the commercial shoot because they know there are going to be no other hockey players involved. It's going to be only the two of them. So I think they set this up quite well. And I think the one thing that I'm missing a little bit is Shane's backstory or his feelings behind everything, because Rozanov just kind of has like a devil may care kind of attitude towards it. Like he knows what he wants. He knows that we can tell that he knows that he's gay. Like he's made that acceptance or bisexual. And we don't really get enough of like Shane's, I don't know, a battle with his own feelings, I guess.
Well, I think that's in part because Shane's never been allowed to make his own decisions. Sure. Shane's never been allowed to say what he is, who he is, how he feels. We learned throughout this pilot that they both have very different backgrounds and very different circumstances that affect their lives once they acquire fame and money. With Rozanov having a family who
is draining
leeches off of him back in Russia and will drain him of every penny if they can. And with Shane, with the Hollanders, you have these people who have basically raised the prodigal son, the person who has to be perfect, he has to do everything by the book. He cannot be out of step at any time. And these are young prospects. These are people in their late teens who should be fighting themselves for the first time. And Shane in Ilya is having the first opportunity to maybe express something that was not determined by his parents. And I think that's a very fascinating dynamic to see play out in real time.
I want to give credit to the actors that are Shane's parents, because we see them a decent amount in this pilot. Christina Chang and Dylan Walsh, who both do a great job in the scenes that they have, but they also do a great job of showing the life of a tiger parent in this essence, right? That was a phrase that came out a few years ago, of the concept of a tiger mom. I call myself a tiger spouse. But I think that it is something that for all the excellence that he was driven to, right? There is something that's lacking. And the other thing that I'm curious, and I don't know if you two knew this, did you know that Shane is supposed to be on the spectrum? He's supposed to be autistic in this show, because I did not know that until watching more of this show. And I'm curious, Rich, almost to your point, and Max, to your point as well, if that's a bit of information we maybe should have gotten in this pilot.
Yeah, I think that would have been helpful to know too. I did have that inclination from kind of the first moment I saw Shane, where like he doesn't seem to be able to talk to himself he doesn't seem to be able to talk to his teammates, his parents, the press, with any level of like real comfort, I would say. And I guess like, and this is not we're not going to start speculating on what, is the designated autism diagnosis or like how that manifests or anything like that. But it is interesting to know. I don't, the more I think about it, maybe it's not necessarily relevant to the script, but like to have that come out afterwards is interesting.
So what I would say to that is,
Max.
in terms of this first episode, the bigger issue, I think, and the bigger representation we're putting on Shane is that of being like an Asian Canadian player in the league, and the representation of that. There's definitely some embodiment of Paul Correa in this character. Sure. I also think in the modern era, you see that with the pressure being put onto like Austin Matthews of representing like the Mexican American
Naomi Osaka
player in the league. Yeah. So it's very difficult to be someone who is from a group that's not often represented in this league, and what that puts 100%. On you. It's an extra burden. And so while that's interesting, and I think it's another detail to Shane, I think we're already putting so much on this person's shoulders. We're asking an 18 or 19-year-old to be the ambassador for an entire group of people who are not represented or seen in this sport. They're like, people are going to look up to you because of your background, and you have to like carry this flag, and you have to embrace that. And that is so much to put onto a teenager that, I would freeze up with the media too. Like, it's impossible to ask someone to be like the torchbearer for like an entire group of people by yourself.
And he doesn't seem to have like that much. He and his family don't seem to have like that much of an interest in it. His mom like wants to sell it a bit, like with the partnerships with like Rolex and stuff like that. But when I first saw this, even just like the first couple of minutes of the pilot, and based on the timeline, I'm like, oh, this is supposed to be Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. And like, I don't know if that was the intention of Rachel Reed, but that's certainly like how it manifested. And Sidney Crosby is 100% white. And I don't know if he's on the spectrum or not. That's like not for
that's not for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we can say about Sidney Crosby on this podcast,
but I don't know if that is the intention of this of this series, but it felt like it.
Yeah, and there actually is a great article on Axios that speaks to that and the inspiration behind it. So, Rich, good call, and maybe we'll link that article because it's a really nice read, actually. But I want to move us a little bit more forward in this because, while we normally don't talk point by point, I think that this is a show that we do, and I want to talk about this hotel scene because I think it's a big revelation for the Shane character, right? Of trying this new thing. We get the line from Ilya of do I make you curious? And which immediately for me, I was like, oh, okay. All right. Maybe. Yes. I'll keep on. You get 5 more minutes. And it's this scene that I think is, if you were to tell me that Jacob Tierney only made this, I'd be like, cool. And then I remember, oh yeah, he made Letterkenny and this. I'm like, I expected a very different scene. And Max, I have this question written down in my notes just for you about someone who's become famous for one type of media and one genre to make a gigantic pivot and make something like this and make a scene like this.
So I mean, are we talking about like Tierney specifically?
We can talk about here. You can go for the entire thing.
I think this scene is where I first started to completely buy into Connor Storrie and Hudson Williams as like, oh, there's something here. Like, they are both so charming. They are so charismatic. We haven't really addressed them too much by name, but I have to give a lot of credit to Connor Storrie for being a young actor from Texas who puts on this Russian accent for the entire episode and conveys charisma and swagger and humor and sexuality and like all of these things that he makes look so easy. His line reading of when Shane says smoking's bad for you and retorts, "Oh, is it?" is like an A+ Russian line reading. He could have so easily slipped into like horny Ivan Drago mode throughout this and like, I must blow you, but instead it's,
did you have that written,
like
did you have that written down?
No.
That's the end of the show. That's thanks, folks.
Well,
but it's really
I'd
charming.
I'd like to personally say goodbye to our sponsor.
And when Hudson Williams folds the pants and puts them on the nightstand, like, it's so cute and it's so charming, and these two have just so much chemistry and they're delightful to watch. And like, this is the scene where for me, like, really does start to come together. It's actually really cute seeing the two of them together.
It is. And it's in addition to it being hot, like no one could stop talking about the sex scenes in this show at the peak of its popularity like a couple weeks ago. It's also like extremely tender. And you don't expect that from both of them because, you know, to this point, their bodies have been used for violence. That's basically what hockey is. It is a how do I use my body to score and as a weapon. And that's really like, you kind of almost don't see this side of hockey players at all, maybe until they retire, that like you don't get to see more of their personality. That's a little bit different now with like social media and everything. Now we get to see them more as people. But like there was like a really great Radio Lab piece a couple of years ago about John Scott getting picked for the NHL All-Star game in 2017, I believe. John Scott he's an enforcer. He's like, and the interview like talks about his family a bunch, and I'm like, this guy plays 6 minutes a game and 5 of them he spends in the penalty box. Like, that was like because he would just beat the hell out of someone, or he'd get his ass beat like on TV. Like, that is really what the reality for some of these players. And I do think like there is something very lovely from the jump about both of them finally getting a chance to be together.
Yeah, and like, just to speak on those tender moments, like the small things, right? Like Shane wearing socks, right? Which is, and I will say, like, some of my favorite moments of this episode are the post like sex moments or post sexual encounter moments, like Ilya slapping Shane on the belly, right? And just when he was done, and he was like, "Good job," and it's just like that's great. Yeah, like that is something that takes, because sure, a lot of this was probably written in Rachel Reed's book, right? And in what Rachel Reed intended. But to take that from book to screen takes so much care. And It can just sort of be slapped together. But I think that this really celebrates it and graduates it into this in some senses, a much more difficult platform to be on.
Well, and to create that, fraternization, to have that ease, to have that humor, that's not easy to do. I mean, sex scenes on TV and film can often feel very clunky. They can feel very awkward. They can feel like there's no chemistry. You have to have a lot of familiarity and trust to do it. And what I think that Storrie and Williams do throughout this is they take what to me personally, feel like throughout a lot of this pilot is a C+ script and storytelling, and they elevate it into something star-worthy. Because I do find at times the time jumps to be very clunky. I do not think this is the best written script, but I think that there is something that is so old school, and by old school I mean 90s and early 2000s Hollywood, about the two of them, in the sense of you're just watching them take average material and elevate it. It's like you're watching the people who became stars to teens, like James Vanderbeek or Ben McKenzie from like 25, 30 years ago, who are just, they are brooding, but there's humor and there's sensuality and there's tenderness. Like there's all of these things conveyed that makes for just good TV.
Yeah, it's also the only times where you get to have a scene that's longer than 90 seconds. And I think that's super important too, because like, and I know that this is like the exposition episode. This is setting up everything for all 6 episodes of the series. But it is, I mean, the time jumps are a lot, and you really don't like it. And maybe that's a metaphor too for the amount of time that they get to spend during love scenes, and that like, okay, now life has slowed down. Now life is like, I am here in the moment. It is not, I am worried about my athletic brand all the time, or I'm worried about my family, or any of the stuff that comes with being a professional athlete.
And I think you nailed that, Rich, because we do get more time jumps, right? We have this first encounter, and then we get to see when they see each other again, right? They get to see each other at the All-Star game. We get the tiniest little amount of hockey, and Jesus Christ, did Jacob Tierney kill it? And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But we also get introduced to a new character, right? We get introduced to this Scott Hunter character, who seems to be this greatest of all time figurehead, the former biggest star of hockey,
right,
that is slowly going to be giving up his throne. And with each of these moments where we see this rivalry continue to bloom, we also see this relationship continue to bloom, leading up to the year-end awards, where I do love that they took the tradition from the hockey awards where everyone wears a tux.
Right.
Please, if you are the commissioner of a major league, make everyone wear a tux at the awards. I beg of you. I know tuxes are hard to find for some of the bigger guys, but like, please, it looks fantastic. And everyone in that scene, I was just like, damn, look, y'all look great. Like, I get it every single time.
I have to nitpick something about the award show, though. I could forgive the budget in the hockey scenes. I could forgive the budget in not having a lot of extras and shots. I could not forgive the budget for these Google slides that are presenting the nominees for each category. Like, at this point, you have to put at least one star wipe in there, people. We have to display this a little bit better.
You know what? Sometimes you're a PA that lies that you can make a great presentation, and then you're called up upon, and then you have to make that Google slide.
I know I'm gonna like I know we're gonna like play on the hockey shots of this like more throughout our pilot coverage of this, but like, I mean, they really did a decent job of making it look like Hudson Williams and Connor Storrie could skate. And, you know, while they did a pretty mediocre job with the sharpshooting skill event,
so slow, you got to pick up the pace.
God,
it just
so
no, it just didn't look real. And I do like, look, they're trying to make Connor Storrie do a lot. He's not a Russian guy. He did not speak Russian before doing this show. That was like he had to learn conversational Russian and get like taught how to say these phrases. I don't know if they had enough time to teach 2 grown men to skate. I don't think that takes a long time. Like,
wait till my wait a minute moments, Rich. I'm gonna have a goddamn party.
Yeah, then we get to the hockey finally. Yeah, that's when we get to the hockey.
That's when we get to the hockey.
Yeah, puck buddies.
But I do want to talk about this rooftop scene right after Shane wins this Rookie of the Year award, which is, once again, we start off this pilot with something that you can never do again, right? You can never be drafted again, and we end this pilot with something that can never be done again. You'll never get the Rookie of the Year award if you didn't win it your first year. And start to see the emotions and the depth of an Ilya character as he's on the rooftop mourning this moment where he has not lived up to the expectations that are put on him from an entire country of Russia. And we see the complexities that might bring to this complicated relationship that we see. So for the two of you, how did you feel about this scene, this final moment?
I think it says a ton. It's the first crack in Ilya's devil may care persona, that he does care and is deeply affected by it. It's the first indication that we see from Shane of like wanting Ilya to like be there, like wanting his support in the moment, like wanting him to be excited for him and to, in some capacity, share in that moment and that greatness, and not getting that emotional depth from him. It's the understanding of, while they clearly have feelings for each other, they're also forever connected as athletes and rivals, and so there's always going to be professional issues that get in the way as well. It just like, it says so much, and there's a kiss that feels different from the other ones, and there's tension that feels different from the other times, and it sets you up for what I know is going to be 5 more episodes of inexplicit time jumps that are hopefully more warranted.
I mean, you also get like I would say the most devastating line in this show, probably in its entirety, is "See you next season," because it's very much like, we can't be seen together, and also like and I won't have this be my wait a minute moment, but I think throughout the series, Ilya's communication of when he is feeling either down in the dumps or he feels like really sad about his family, the way that they're treating him, but also the implications of being an out gay man in Russia in general. Like, he does not do a good job of like saying that ever, and it just puts so much shame and anger into Shane, and it's just kind of not fair. And it just like it made me realize, it made me think that like, oh, you know, Ilya's not going to be like good for Shane, and that's and that was like hard to get through too, because like, oh, you're just not going to communicate while you're sad at all, or angry, or like not being there in a normal like player relationship kind of a thing. It just like, it made it very frustrating to, because I loved Ilya from the beginning. He has like that really awesome like Eastern European devil may care attitude.
He's so cool.
Yeah.
He smokes cigarettes. Like,
he's
Rich
cool
is,
as hell.
Rich is fully bought in.
I am. Ilya is a cool
his
character.
whole like, did I say I would score 40 goals? No, I lied. I'm going to score 50.
When
Oh.
he said that, I was
Buddy,
like, oh,
I'm like,
I would have wanted his jersey so damn badly.
I know. And don't get me wrong. Like, I love Alex Ovechkin. I love Russian machine never breaks. And that is like, he is kind of the embodiment of that too. Less sexy, not to shit on anyone's dreams or anything like that.
I mean, I saw that beer gut when he finally won a cup. I don't know what you're talking about.
But yeah, I mean, there are so many implications of being a Russian star in general, because you were essentially thrust into like this oligarchy class where like, you know, there are plenty of videos of Ovechkin and other NHL stars playing like exhibition games with Putin and other like dignitaries in Russia, and you're just kind of like pushed into that, and you can't really be yourself, and you have to be an ambassador 24/7, and that's not how it is in Canada. It's not how it is in the US. Like, we don't have to have every athlete be LeBron. They don't have to be a role model. They don't have to be Steph Curry. They don't have to be Serena Williams. It is like, you can be if you want, but
You can be a Charles Barkley and very famously say, I am not a role model.
Yeah.
And have an entire advertising campaign about it. Well, gentlemen, our episode ends, right, with saying, see you next season, a very aggressive kiss, and then being told to see you next season for what may lie ahead in the future. But I want to bring it to things that we loved about this pilot, things that we wanted to give a little bit more shine that maybe we didn't discuss in depth. So, Max, you got a smirk. I want to hear what is the thing that you want to talk about?
The close-up of 3G on Shane's phone and his explanation of what YouTube is and how it works.
Yeah.
It is...
It's 2008. It's 2008.
Yeah,
It is
hey,
2008.
Did you know this is 2008? It is such a fun nostalgia trip that puts you in the mind frame of where we are and where we're at, and that he's just a guy in his late teens trying to explain YouTube to 2 adults, a conversation that I'm sure we all had in our own lives at some point around, 07, 08. And yeah, it's a way to let you know when it is out hammering it over the head in a show that I felt, for the most part, didn't get too trapped into, hey, you know what it is? Did you know this is from 2008? Did you know we're doing this in 2008? Like, it didn't fall into that, so I appreciate the one ham-fisted touch.
Rich, what about yourself?
I know we talked about it a bit, but the tender moments between them made this feel extra compelling. Like, it's not just them fucking. It is also like they legitimately care about each other. And for two people in such a toxic masculinity ridden environment as an NHL locker room or just the sports community in general, I think is beautiful. And I know we didn't really touch on the Lily and Jane aspect of it too. That becomes like a significant part of the way they communicate with each other, or don't communicate. And that is like, I think it's nice. I think what you get to see in any moment where they're not together is this kind of longing through text messages. And that is, I think that's such an important part of how they tell the story.
Yeah. Max, you really sort of hit what I was going to hit earlier by saying that this was not the best written script that we've ever talked about in the history of this
That
podcast.
said, Jacob Tierney, please come on the pod. We love you.
But no, but that's my thing, is elevating that through direction, through performance, through shooting, through not being given the biggest budget in the world and me being like, oh, wow, they did a really good job with what they had available. That is teamwork, baby. And I love when a pilot just shows that like everyone on set was goddamn clicking, because that is what this pilot does. This pilot is an exemplification of everyone being like, all right, we're going to nail this. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that this looks amazing, so that when we go and we say, we're not only going to want 5 more episodes, we want another season, there's more books coming out, the executives at Crave were like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it right now.
I have a question for you that's like related to this, because we're obviously looking at this through a lens of people who really love TV, not necessarily looking at through the lens of people who really love romance series. Does this pilot do a good job of bridging that gap between the romance series like fans and people who just like regular TV? Like, is this compelling enough for people? I personally, I think yes, but I'm curious what you guys think.
I am going to be a yes, right? But I'll put it through this lens, right? I think that if a good romance book has you wanting to turn the next page immediately, it has you wanting to know what the thoughts are and imagine, and it's not just about the sex, it's about everything, and it's about a relationship is not just built on sex, it is built on the full person that you're with. And I think that this show, even though we get only scratches of the surface, right, of that, I think the reason people complain about the time jumps as much as they do is because they want to see them together. They don't want these gigantic jumps in time.
Right.
We want to turn the page to that next scene, and we just happen to be forced to realize, oh shit, they really don't get to see each other that often. Like, I think they get to see each other maybe like 5 days in 3 years, sort of thing.
And I will say one thing, I guess, defending the time jump cards on the screen. I think that conveying time is easier to do on written page than on screen with these large of gaps. I think you could kind of bridge that a little bit easier in a book. And I also think that, and this is something that's come up in a lot of ways recently, in the streaming era, it is very clear that you have to hit things over the head for your audience. And I think them saying 6 months later, 4 months later, 4 weeks later is a necessity for an audience, because it's on a Canadian subscription platform and it's on HBO Max. So you have to create some barriers that tell your audience, if they are half looking at something, that time is moving forward. So I think that is a device that has to be used because of the platform in which the show is released, both in its home Canada and here in the US.
Gotcha.
Well, I have one more thing that I'd like to give some shine to that we didn't really talk about. let's talk about boys' butts, gentlemen, because boy, does this show have some extraordinary ones. And I would not be doing my job.
That's right.
As a personal trainer if I did not give some advice. If you listening,
this is the clip. This is the clip right here.
Maybe you're a guy and you're like, I want that butt, or maybe you're a girl dating a guy and you're like, I want to be dating a guy who has a butt like that. These are the things you need. Really quickly, there are 3 parts of the glute that I want you to be focusing on. You have your upper glute, you have your lower glute, and you have your glute maximus. We want to be working each part of the glute about 4 to 8 sets a week. You can divide these up over multiple days. I wouldn't recommend working the same part or the same part in a day, because then you won't be able to walk. But let's get a hip thrust in. Let's get a straight leg cable raise in. And I would also recommend potentially doing a little bit of hamstring work as well. Find exercises that work for you. Body weight is great. And I wish you the best of luck in getting the butt of your dreams.
And if you want...
Rich, every single morning, we are lacing up the skates, we're hitting the rink, 6 a.m., we're running Herbies until we cannot walk.
Just so we can be better podcasters. Again. Jeff, thank you for doing that. If you want to book Jeff as a personal trainer, he is available. Just find him on Instagram at RunJeffRun. But that is 100% the clip for this episode.
And if you want to do Herbies with Rich and I at 6 a.m. in Burbank at the ice rink,
you can DM them both and they'll be there. There's one other thing that I do want to talk about in a little bit more of a serious note. The intimacy coordinator for this show deserves all of the praise in the world. Normal TV, as it stands today, doesn't hold a candle to what they did on this show. And some of the scenes that they had to do on the show require true trust between acting and scene partners. And holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
If that, I just give that person all of the money, because they did such an amazing job to build that trust amongst those 2 actors.
Absolutely.
All right, now on a less serious note, let's talk about wait a minute moments, things that cause you pause. And my thing is, for the intimacy coordinator that existed on this set, who the fuck taught these 2 guys to run? I say that as a guy who runs weird. I have a weird gait. If you see me running, you're going to point at me and say something is medically wrong with that man. And I, as that person, am pointing at these 2 and saying, can we figure out what the fuck is happening with these 2 gentlemen?
Are you talking about Shane Hollander's really low arm angle when he's running? Because he runs like a gorilla, and I really, and I'm sorry to say this for a show I really did like, but it took me out of the scene every time.
Shane, Ilya, or excuse me, I'm going to speak to Hudson Williams and Connor Storrie specifically. Join my club, Weird Run Club. You know, we look awkward when we're doing it, but hey, it gives results, and that's all that matters. Max. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Rich, go ahead.
No. What's your wait a minute moment, bud?
What Hudson Williams and Connor Storrie, one of them is from Texas, one of them's from Vancouver, and it should be the other way around. Connor Storrie should be the guy from Canada, and Hudson Williams should be the guy from Texas. No, in all seriousness, that was the worst shift change I've ever seen.
Hockey talk. More hockey talk.
That is the slowest, most awkward hop over the boards for a shift change I've ever seen. And then the post-game interview where they make such a big deal about him scoring off of Ilya. No, he beat the goalie, who we don't even give a name to. He wasn't shooting it at Ilya. He was shooting it at a goaltender. They have to tie them together so much that we're giving credit to things that shouldn't even be a factor in the hockey game. Just absolute slop on the ice.
Max, they blew all their money on the intimacy coordinator. They couldn't get a hockey coordinator for this.
Rich, what about you? Wait a minute moment for you.
The exposition element of this like hockey podcast that plays over like describing like some of the situation that's happening around them. You didn't have a hockey podcast in 2008. I'm so sorry you didn't. The only person who was podcasting at that exact moment was our past guests, the Bowery Boys and Mark Maron, and that was really
that needed to be narrated by Doc Emmerich.
Oh man,
that would have been amazing.
Oh, that would have tripled the budget.
Well, we do have one more question, gentlemen. This week's question comes to us from the Drama Pod, friends of the show, and Dylan McDowell. If you actually want to check out the Drama Pod, they just had Nichelle Lewis from the newest version of Ragtime that's at the Lincoln Center, so highly recommend listening to that episode. But they asked a fun question. As we've talked about, this episode takes place in 2008. Did you know that? So the pilot is a period piece in 2008. What song from that year would you put in this episode? Which, boy, I wish there was more 2008 based music in this show, but I understand that is very expensive. So if you had to replace this playlist with songs from 2008, what 2008 songs would you like in Heated Rivalry? Max, you are our music guy. I just like, Rich, I'm sorry, but Max is definitely the guy.
I'm definitely not the music guy.
So, Max, I'm going to let you start.
2008, I mean, we could have had Can't Believe It by T-Pain in there.
Yeah, damn right.
We could have had Put On or My President by Young Jeezy. No, but the obvious answer for me is the single version of Untouched by the Veronicas, the iconic Australian pop act. It's an absolute banger. They are queer icons themselves. It's an absolute heater that gets me pumped to this day. So I'm giving up to the Veronicas for my pick for 2008 songs.
Rich, what about yourself?
I got a serious answer and a crazy answer.
Go for the serious one first, and then I want to hear that crazy.
Serious answer would be Touch My Body by Mariah Carey. That would be I think, a really good one. Actually,
Great
two
choice.
Serious answers. I also have Dangerous by Akon and Cardinal Official. And then
Does that come before or after T-Pain's Can't Believe It?
But anyone who knows me, they know I'm a big Cardinal Official fan. So that's a and then crazy answer would have to be Crank That Soldier Boy. I want it. I want it. What about you, Geoff?
Yeah, for myself, I only have one answer. I'm so sorry. It's Neo Closer. I think that would be a bit of a banger for our hotel encounter or even the locker room scene.
Very nice.
Maybe something that would, if you like that choice. Heated Rivalry. Jacob, call me. I am very much available.
Should we make a Spotify playlist of songs that we think should be in Heated Rivalry? Okay, if you're listening to this episode and you want a TVPL Spotify account of songs that should have been in Heated Rivalry's 2008 mix, let us know and we will make it for you.
100%.
A 2008 fuck jam.
Dylan, thank you so much for that in-flight question. If you have an in-flight question that you'd like to submit to the show, you can submit those at 213-290-1713. We take text or voicemail. You can also shoot us a DM on Instagram, and we are happy to take those. And if you want to listen to the Drama Pod, you can listen to them anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also find them on iHeartRadio, and their most recent episode is with Nichelle Lewis. Let's talk a little bit about the history and the legacy of the show. There's not much history, right? This is a brand new show. Max basically said the entire history of the show, but there's one season and 6 episodes, and the show was just greenlit for a second season. So
that's going to be exciting.
It's going to be great, and there's going to be even more budget. Viewership for the show is really, really interesting. It's one of the 4th most streamed series in Canada. It had 25 million users watch it in the first week that it was available. Crave reported that this show was responsible for a 400% increase in initial viewership to their platform.
Wait, 25 million in just Canada?
Yeah.
What?
400% increase in initial 7-day streaming for that show, which is bonkers as well.
That's over half of the entire Canadian population.
Rich, I just look up statistics. I don't test them for accuracy. Who do you think I am? The government?
Yeah, that's the American mindset right there.
This one was actually really cool. HBO Max announced that this show is the number 2 driver of first-time viewers for their platform ever.
Smart.
And if you're curious, Max mentioned that HBO bought the rights to show the show in Australia as well as in the US. Anybody have a guess for how much per episode or how much the entire series cost them. Go for it. Price is Right rules.
$10,000 and an arrow bar. I don't know.
Rich?
I'm going to go 2.5 million.
3.6 million.
Hey.
It was $600K per episode.
Okay.
And boy, are they making
But that's
more
Canadian,
than
so
their
that's
money
actually
back.
less than mine.
So because the show technically does not meet the Television Academy standards, it has not or was not available to be nominated for any Emmy Awards
Dang.
this upcoming year. But it has been nominated for 4 other awards, including being honored by the NYC LGBTQ Community Center with the Cultural Impact Award, and that was awarded to Jacob Tierney and Brandon Brady, excuse me. But that is the current history of the show. I'm super excited to learn more about the history as this show goes on. But Rich, it is time for your game of the week.
Absolutely. And what would we do without some gay athletics trivia here? Okay, so these are both true or false questions. True or false, Jason Collins, the first NBA player to come out as gay, did so during his active career. True or false?
False.
False.
It is actually true. He became the first openly gay athlete in the four major team sports. He announced that he was coming out publicly in 2013. He signed as a free agent again in 2014, making him the first with an active contract.
Awesome.
True or false, the creator of the original book series Game Changers, Rachel Reed, on which Heated Rivalry is based, also penned a BDSM gay tennis romance called Service Game. True or false?
I hope that's true because boy, do I know my reading. That's
I'm
coming up.
going to say false.
False. I made that shit up.
Rich, write the book. Rachel
But if
Reed,
any
write that
publishers
book.
are listening to this podcast,
write that book. Well,
I got
Rich,
400 pages for whatever publisher wants to jump in on that.
Rich, thank you so much for your game of the week.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, our flight is coming to a land, but before we go, I have 2 questions for you. And the first is based off of the pilot and the pilot alone. Are you going to watch more of Heated Rivalry? Have you already watched the entire series? Tell me more. But then the second is, this is a story that I think there was pushback from a studio, as Max said. There were probably a ton of notes of changing tone and changing certain items because people weren't comfortable based off of them. But we've done queer entertainment before, and there isn't much of it, but do we want more like this to maybe invite people to this perspective? So, Rich, I'm going to start with you, as I always do.
I have finished the series, so the answer is yes. I did want to watch more. I will say the pilot really tested that on me a bit. Like, I think if I didn't have the huge emotional fanfare from a lot of my friends, people I follow on Instagram and stuff like that, I maybe would not have given episode 2 a shot. However, I'm so glad I did. And as it goes for shows like this, gay media, either gay romance or stuff like that, I think this really bridges the gap in interest for so many people. And I think it's hockey is so important to the Canadian cultural landscape. It is. I think it's opening the door for a football, a basketball, a baseball series. Anything could be coming now for this particular genre, especially now as romance is getting to be increasingly popular in for book writing. So yeah, I would love to see more shows like this, and you bet your ass I'll give them a shot.
Max?
yeah, this is a yes for me. This is my first time watching it, but I think that both Storrie and Williams are stars in the making, and their chemistry is undeniable. And I'm very excited to actually watch the rest of this. As to your second question, I want to address this with 2 parts. The first is, yes, we need more of these stories. I would love to see more of them told without the pretext of a romance novel series behind them too, because there is a degree of like camp and lightness that comes from the source material. The second thing I want to say, and why I think shows like this are important, is that right now what you're seeing with Heated Rivalry's effect is the NHL tried to capitalize on it by doing promo events at games, utilizing its IP to boost the league, doing social media posts that feel tongue-in-cheek and queer-coded, all while the league itself is having more teams than ever cancel their Pride nights, is banning players from having stick tape that represent the LGBTQIA plus community during Pride nights, and is trying to really... is allowing teams to stifle that voice while also trying to profit off the success of heated rivalry. And so you need media like this to reach across aisles and to widen audiences. And I hope that leagues will listen and they will see the impact it has and the eyes that are on their sport and the attention being drawn to it. I hope the success of the series will illuminate the issues that are currently going on in the NHL and will force a reckoning in that league, which has dealt with a lot of homophobia over the years. And hopefully this is a stepping stone in a right direction to actually putting their money where their mouth is and being able to see the impact this has and moving forward in a better direction for the league.
And not just do it for the benefit of more money. And that would be pretty lovely if they would just like have some fucking guts for once. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. For myself, I watched the first episode of this week, and I have one more episode to watch tonight. And I'm very excited about watching the finale of the show. This is an instant yes for me as far as the pilot. I think it did such a good job of hooking me, and like a good romance
that's 2 minutes.
novel.
Oh, yeah, damn it!
Okay.
It's a hockey joke,
Sure.
Jeff.
Sure, why not? I was having a tender moment, but you know, what I'll say is, like a good romance book, this had me wanting to turn the page to the next chapter, and I think that is, we've really said and given flowers to a lot of the folks who helped make this, and I think that is well deserved. As far as more shows like this and more media like this, I think more media like this in general. If you are a league that participates in rainbow capitalism, you should be ashamed of yourself. You either get to participate with the community or you do not.
Yeah.
And make that very clear. Don't go and try to say, oh, we have these cool jerseys that the players refuse to wear, but you can buy them and they're overpriced. At that same time, let me be clear that I think that there should be I'm very lucky to live in a state where we have a women's hockey team, and it's fucking awesome. And the praise and the support for that team that is very wide-ranging, especially amongst the LGBTQ community. But when it comes to media specifically, well, we can create stories, right? And create stories to try to shoehorn them into different sports. There's stories that are out there right now that are truly incredible. Like in the WNBA, there's plenty of stories that exist already about people who started off as teammates and got married at the end of the day, right? One that I do want to talk about that I heard about today is Lily Zhang. If you don't know who that is, Lily Zhang is one of the top-rated table tennis players in the world, and she met her now girlfriend on a Tinder date where they went to a ping pong bar where she was like, I've been retired for multiple years, and then she beat her multiple times playing with her cell phone instead of a paddle.
That's so funny.
Wonderful story, but she's going to be at the Olympics, and her partner's going to be there with her, supporting her. We don't have to look far for these stories. They are there. I hope we tell more of them, whether it is in traditional TV, documentary, or just even on streaming and on YouTube where we can see them. And I hope that Heated Rivalry inspires folks to be able to do so.
And there is now, after decades and a century of professional hockey, there is now an openly gay hockey player with an NHL contract who is playing, I want to say, in the Dallas Stars system currently in the AHL. But he I mean, use this as an opportunity to welcome someone into the game safely. You know, like if they do make the show, even if they don't, like you should be rallying around this person anyways. That is like
Absolutely.
That's someone who has significantly more bravery than anybody else in this sport, and I really hope the best for him.
Well, gentlemen, that is our flight. But before we go, I want to make sure that folks can find you wherever you want to be found. So, Rich, where can folks find you?
You can find me going back to 2009 and launching our podcast, so we finally get a lot more listeners. And, and you can find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. You can find original sketch comedy from Max and myself at Dadwagon Comedy. On Instagram, we're weighing whether or not we want to keep doing TikTok.
Max?
You can catch me 6 months later on all things social media at Maxwell Sig.
Oh my God. And you can catch me drinking a ginger ale, wondering what am I going to go down a rabbit hole on YouTube about? Probably unlikely animal relationships. But if you want to find me on social media, you can find me at Run Geoff Run. If you want to find the TV Pilot's License, you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also see our smiling faces on YouTube. We do have a Reddit, r/TVPL. Make sure to join in on the conversation where we talk about new episodes every week and talk with you. And if you have an in-flight question, you can submit those on Instagram, or you can give us a call at 213-290, or leave us a text message at that same exact number. Why was I going to repeat it? Make sure to watch out for some of the fun stuff that we have coming up. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt signed off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies and your fingers on the dial.
I am coming to the cottage.
All right. Excellent.